So this is a question from my Spotify, but I'm going to do a 3-minute introduction and then I'm going to post it on my Spotify. So, and just in case you guys don't know, I have a podcast and it's called The Traveling Sexologist, or it'll be under Euphoric Evolution on Spotify. But he's going to be anonymous, but he asked me, how does he go about fulfilling his fantasies and his desires and not cheating on his wife when she is not in a space of wanting to satisfy his needs in that regard? I think this is super important because I'm sure this happens a lot. And this happens a lot because when we get into relationships oftentimes for very selfish needs. And sometimes we get into relationships for a title. Sometimes we get into relationships to prove that we have a relationship. But what ends up happening is that when you don't find a partner, spiritual, mental, physical, and you guys don't have that union, and there hasn't been this communication about the evolution of each other, and you'll know that it's not this type of relationship because he is having to hide what his desires are, right? And in a relationship, you shouldn't have to hide what your desires are. There should be clear communication of what it is that you want. And maybe when you first met, it's not what you wanted. But as you've evolved, you want to experience things. Your sexuality wants to be experienced. There's things that you want to indulge in. And this is why it's important to have a woman in your life and a man in your life that understands that we are constantly evolving. And even though we make a commitment to one another to grow and to nurture and to love and to understand and to support and to be loyal to each other, there still has to be a sacred space where we hold each other dear to our hearts when we begin to evolve. And if one person is evolving and the other one isn't, it's a clear indication just by the way you can't communicate your desires. And what ends up happening is that you suppress all of the things that you need in order to see yourself and to know who you are. You suppress those things, and then it comes out in a very disruptive way, which is the lies, the manipulation, the cheating, because you can't help but be who you are. And even though you think you're suppressing them for somebody, it's always going to come out. And then when it comes out, you're going to take it out on Susan or James, who's not your partner, right? And that's just an example of names. So I highly recommend discipline. If you decide that you've dedicated yourself to somebody, self-discipline is huge. And you have to have clear communication